Well, hello Internet and welcome to my shell scripting tutorial. In this one tutorial, I'm going to teach you the basic syntax of how to write bash shell scripts, and I'm also going to focus in specifically on input-output variables, math, creating your own functions, how to execute Python functions, conditionals, strings, arrays, looping. And then we're also going to cover a lot about how to use Vim, because that is going to be the editor that I'm going to be using here. And basically a shell script is just going to contain commands that are executed inside your terminal, just as if you type them in the terminal. But like I said previously, we're also going to cover all the other different things like input, output, conditionals, strings, arrays, and all that other stuff. So I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so basically I have two terminals open here, one on the left and one on the right, and I'm going to start off here by talking about Vim. Now, to install Vim, if you do not have it installed, you're just going to type in sudo and apt and get and install Vim like that, and hit enter, and it might ask you for a password, and then it will install it. And you may have to restart the terminal after that, but otherwise everything is ready to go. So now that we have Vim installed, let's talk about how to use Vim, and I think this is very important. So let's just go and create a little file called test, and there we are inside of Vim. And you can just start typing away by hitting I, that's going to put us in insert mode, and then you're going to be able to put all sorts of random things on multiple different lines, and I'm doing this for a reason because I want to jump around here and show you a couple different things and how things work inside of Vim. Alright, so there we go. We created our little file here. Now, how do we move around inside of the file? Well, let's go and hit escape, and that's going to jump us out of insert mode. And if you would like to save but not exit, you're going to hit colon and W, and that's going to save your file. You can also save and quit, once again, by hitting colon and WQ, and that's going to save and quit. You're also going to have the option to quit and discard any changes that you have. Again, you want to hit escape, and you want to hit colon, and then you're going to hit Q and an exclamation mark. Jump back in here again. You can also move around in nice ways. Again, if you're not in insert mode, of course. If you want to move to the front of the next word, just hit W, lowercase w. It's going to jump you through your file. You're also going to be able to move backwards to the front of words by hitting B, lowercase b once again. You can move to the start of the line by hitting 0, and you're going to be able to jump to the end of the line by hitting the $sign. You can hit an uppercase G, that's going to jump you to the last line, and then you can hit an uppercase A, and that puts you in insert mode or append mode. That's going to move you to the end of the final line and allow you to start typing. Okay, so, and also you're going to be able to move around with your arrows just like you would in any other different text editor. We could also decide that we want to display line numbers by hitting escape once again, and colon and set number like that. You could turn syntax highlighting on once again by hitting escape and colon and then typing in syntax on and hitting enter. You're also going to be able to decide how many spaces you're going to have with a tab by hitting colon and set tab stop is equal to 2. You don't need to memorize all these things because more than likely you're going to go and put them in a file. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. Another option that is available to you is auto indent, which is going to indent all of your new lines. So set auto indent. You may want to use these, you may not. It's just going to be completely up to you. And where you're going to save all of these changes so they are available every single time you open up Vim is inside of your home directory. So mine, of course, has my name on it, Derek Banis, and you're just going to save them in a file that is called .vimrc, and we can open that file up. And if you do, you can see right here that I went and set it so that line numbers always show up, that syntax is always on, that my tab stops are going to be equal to 2 spaces, and I also have auto indent. And you're going to go and save that once again into .vimrc inside your home directory, and then go and reload all your terminals, and all that stuff will be there every single time you load up Vim. You could also come into Vim and verify which vimrc file you're going to be using by just coming in and typing in echo and then $sign and my vimrc, and you can see that it is using the one that is inside of my home directory. Okay, so there's just the basics of how to use Vim. As this tutorial continues, we're going to be doing a lot more with it. You could also come in here and select a whole bunch of these files just by going capital V like this, and then pressing down on your arrow keys to select everything, and then hit D to delete everything. And now that we got that out of the way, let's go and write ourselves a hello world script and see exactly how that works. Now you're going to start off your file with the shebang. Well, first off, you're going to hit I to go into insert mode, and you're going to go shebang, which is just a hash symbol with an exclamation mark, and this is going to tell the system, the interpreter, that you want to use for your script. In this situation, I am going to use bash, and then if I wanted to go and make a comment, I can do a comment just with a hash symbol and comment, and then if we want to echo hello world out on the screen, we can do so just like this. So echo hello world, and then you're going to escape, and you're going to hit colon and WQ, and you are out of Vim. Over here on the right side of the screen, I can now go in here and execute this. Well, let's just do ls to see exactly what we have here, and we can see here is hello world, which is what we're going to be doing our little work with here. And there it is indeed, and let's just clear that. Now if we want to come in here and execute our hello world script, we would just go period and / and then hello world like that, and you can see that hello world shows up there on our screen. So we're just going to be bouncing back and forth. Over here I'm going to write the script, over here I'm going to execute it. Now if you did not have that executable, the hello world script, it's very easy to change it into an executable. All we're going to do is go chmod like this, and 755, and hello world exactly like that, and now it is going to be executable. Now these numbers right here that you see after we have chmod is going to define who can do what with our file. The order of these numbers are going to represent, first off, the owner of the file, and then the group, and then everyone else, and the permissions that they have. Now, whenever we put a 7 here, this is going to say that the owner of this file is going to be able to read, write, and execute it. When we have 5 here, that is saying that the group in this situation, as well as everyone else, is going to be able to read and execute. If any of these were 6, that means they would have permission to read and write. 4 would mean read only, 3 would mean write and execute, 2 would mean write only, 1 would mean execute only, and 0 would mean that they cannot do absolutely anything with a file. And that is how we can change permissions on our file if you did not know that already. Now we're going to be able to come in here, and we're going to also be able to create variables, of course. And we're going to define variables, like let's say I wanted to have my name like that. I then would not put a space, and no space there, and I would type in Derek like that. So that creates a variable called my name with the value of Derek inside of it. And variable names are going to start with either a letter or an underscore meaning that guy right there, and then they're going to also be able to contain numbers anywhere else inside of the variable name. Now the shell is going to treat all of our variables as if they are strings, but we're going to be able to work with numbers, as you'll see in a moment. And it's just important, I want to make sure you know, whenever you're declaring variables, you can't have white space on either side of your equal sign. Now we can also come inside of here and we can declare a constant if we'd like to, even though that isn't very common. And how we do that is declare -r, and then we could say something like num1 is going to be equal to 5. That is going to make that a constant. And let's come in here and create another one called num2 and give that the value of 4. And then you can do some basic arithmetic if you'd like to go and create num3 and you want to do arithmetic. You're going to have to go and put a $sign inside of here and then 2 of those brackets, and then we can add num1 plus num2. We could also come in here and highlight this. If we want to save a little bit of time, escape out of that, capital V. We're going to hit lowercase y to copy that for us. And then we can do capital P, and then we can do capital P, and another capital P, and another capital P, and come in here, go back into insert mode, change this to 4, change this to 5, change this to 6. And then we can also do subtraction, and we can do multiplication, and we can do division. We're also going to be able to use exponents as well as modulus. I'll show you those in a second though. If we want to then echo out all of this information on our screen, we can just go echo, and we can do something like 5 plus 4 is equal to, And if you want to put the variable directly inside of your output, just go $, and num3 in this situation. I'm going to highlight this again, copy it by hitting Y, and then I'm going to go and paste all these out again. And if I'm ever moving too fast, feel free to hit the pause button. I like to move these tutorials along quickly, and I just leave it up to you to hit the pause button to make sure that they move at the rate that you would prefer them. And we can escape out of that and then go and W and execute, and you can see exactly how all those work for us. We're also going to be able to go echo, and we can use exactly the same parentheses we have here, and let's just do exponents again. So let's go 2 like this, and we can do echo, and modulus is going to return the remainder of a division, and you can put spaces inside of here if you'd like, and you can see that those all calculate out. You're also going to have assignment operators that provide for shorthand arithmetic options for you, and those are going to be plus equals to. And basically what this is going to mean is, let's say we have I plus equals to 2. That is going to be equivalent to I is equal to I plus 2. So it's just a shorthand way so you don't have to type in I multiple different times. You're also going to have a subtraction option and a multiplication option, as well as a division option. And I think modulus also works. I'm not certain though, because I never use it. So let's go and create another random variable, and let's give that a value of 5. And let's perform some arithmetic on it. And we can go rand plus equal to 4. And then we can echo that out on our screen as well. And again, I'm hitting colon and W to save that. And there you can see that 9 comes back. You're also going to be able to use a shorthand way of incrementing values. And let's go and create that. And let's just go echo. And we'll use rand again. So we'll have rand plus plus. That is the shorthand that I'm referring to. And let's see exactly what happens whenever we use this shorthand notation. Go rand plus plus. And then also we will change the position of, again, I'm going to hit a V right here and a Y to copy that. And then I'm going to hit P and P and P. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to use incremental and decremental. So let's come in here and let's increment this here and put that there. And then here we're going to decrement this and decrement that as well. And whenever we execute that, you can see exactly what's going on here. So it starts off with a value of 9. Now, whenever we call for this to increment, what it is doing is it is saying print the value of rand, and then after you print it on the screen, then increment its value. Here what it's saying is first increment the value, then print it on the screen. And that is the reason why we jump from 9 to 11. Likewise, here we're saying print the value of rand and then decrement it after you print it, and that's why it stays 11. And here we're saying first decrement it and then print it on the screen, and that's the reason why we go back to 9. Now, if you want to use floating point values, what we're going to have to do here is this. There's a couple different ways of doing this, but I'm going to show you how to use Python for this. So let's go and create number 7 and give it a value of 1.2, and number 8 and give it a value of 3.4. You're going to be able to use a whole bunch of different Python commands right here inside of your shell script. And we can go number 9 is equal to, and here we're going to call Python to execute. Of course, you have to have Python installed on your system for this to work. And then you're going to be able to use any type of Python command you'd like to use here. So we can say number 7 and number 8, and make sure you put that quote right there. And then after you do that, you're going to be able to come in and get the value of number 9. And we can come over and execute it, and you can see indeed that it was able to perform that arithmetic for us. Now, the final thing I'm going to show you here is how we can come in and print out information over multiple lines with what is called the here script. And here I'm going to use cat, which is going to print a file or any string that you pass to it. And you can experiment with exactly how that's going to work. Basically, you're just going to put cat, and you're going to put those 2 little arrows inside of there. And then you're going to put how the lines are going to end. And I like to use end. Some people use other things. And here we can say this text prints, and then you put end here at the end again. We can escape out of that, jump over here and execute it, and you can see it prints exactly as you went and defined it right inside of there. So there you go. That's a rough overview of some of the basics using math and printing information out on the screen and using Python and a whole bunch of other different things. Now I'm going to jump over and talk about functions and how they work inside of your shell scripts. Now, functions are going to, of course, allow you to avoid the need to write duplicate code. And another thing here, we have all this stuff typed out here inside of him. You're probably wondering, is there an easy way to avoid going through and hand deleting all this? Of course there is. First you want to hit escape, then you're going to hit lowercase g 2 times, and then you're going to hit D and capital G. That is lowercase d and capital G. There you go, everything's been deleted. Alright, back inside of insert mode, and of course in the description I have a link to a cheat sheet that has all of the things I talk about here, so you can use that. Now if you want to define a function, you're just going to go and type it in here like this. Let's just say get date, for example. And if we want to go and get our current date and time, one of the little functions that's available to us is the date function, and this is going to get the current date and time. And then we can call return, and return is going to return an exit status number between 0 to 255. You don't really need to worry about all that. Just know it's going to jump us out of our little function after we get it done. And now that we have that set up, we can call our function just by going get date, and we save that. And there you can see it went and printed out all that data information. And that brings us to the difference between what are called global as well as local variables, and how they work in regards to functions. So let's go and create a variable inside of here, and I'll put Derek inside of this. This is a global variable. This is available to every single thing else in your script. Now I'm going to show you a local variable. So we'll go demonstrate local, go and create our little function inside of here. And here we're going to define a local variable. That means it is only available inside of this function. And I'm going to give it the same name as the name outside of there. And then we're going to return outside of our function. Now you would think I just changed the value for name, and you're going to see indeed that I did not. Well, let's go and call dem local, because the function needs to be called for it to execute, and then we'll go echo, and we will go name, and we'll see exactly how this is going to work for us. And after you play with them for a while, you're going to get used to it. And there you can see that Derek printed out. The reason why is this version of name is only available inside of here. Nobody else knows that it exists except for this block of your script. This is the global name. It is available everywhere, but in this situation, since we went and created a variable with the same name, name inside of here is Paul. Outside of here, it is always going to be Derek. So hopefully that made some sense for you. But a function is going to be pretty worthless for us unless it is able to come in and receive some values. So how we can get our values is, let's just go into insert mode here, and we'll create a function that's going to receive 2 values and then print a sum. So we can go get sum. And you may ask yourself, how are we going to get the attributes that are going to be passed to it? Well, we're going to be referring to them with $1 and $2 for the second one, and $3, and so forth and so on. So let's go and create some local variables, and we'll call this number 3. And let's get the first attribute passed inside of there, and then we will get number 4. And we'll get the second attribute. We can then come in and we can create the sum of both of these values, and we're going to add them together, and we'll go num3 and add and num4. And then if we want to pass back the value from our function back to whoever called our function, we can just go echo and sum like that. Jump out of there, and then we can define our function or our values we're going to pass inside of here. So we'll go number is equal to 5 and number 2 is going to be equal to 6. And then we'll pass our attributes. And to do so, we're going to go sum is going to have the value passed back inside of here. And we'll go get sum, which is the name of our function. And then we pass in the attributes, and you just don't put you just put a space inside of here. You don't put a comma or anything like that. And that is going to call our functions for us. And then we can go echo just to prove that this echo up here is actually returning the value and isn't printing it out. We will go echo the sum is sum. Save that and execute, and you can see right here the sum is 11. So there's a rough overview of how we can go and create functions, pass attributes into them, and have values return from them. So now let's go and take a look at conditionals. Well, I might as well also talk about how we can read information or receive input from the user. We're just going to type in read-p, and the P option says that we want to prompt with a string, and the string is going to be, what is your name, and then the value is going that they enter on the keyboard is going to be stored in the variable called name. And then we can come right back and go echo and hello name and execute what is your name, Derek. Hello, Derek. So you can see how we were able to go in there and get some input for ourselves. We could also come in here and say, how old are you? And then whatever they enter is going to be stored inside of the variable called age. And then we're going to use an if statement to decide what we want to do here. So we're just going to type in if, and you're going to place your conditions within these brackets like that. And the condition I want to check is I'm going to say if age is greater than or equal to 16, then I want to do something. So I'm going to say then, and then I'm going to type in exactly what I want to do. I can say you can drive. Now if I want to check another condition, I just go elif like that, and then I type in whatever the next condition is. And I could say something like age is equal to, that's what that guy means right there, 15. And then I can say then and echo and say something nice like you can drive next year. And then finally we would type in else, and this is going to be the default if neither of the other two come back as true, and it'll say something like you can't drive and be mean about that. And then what you do to close off your overall if statement, because there are no brackets or anything here or curly braces, you're going to type in fi, which is going to be if in backwards, of course, because that makes sense. And we'll come over here and we'll execute how old are you, and I could type in 15. Whoops, got a little bit of an error. Jump back over here. That's because I didn't type in greater than or equal to. What was I thinking? Let's go in here and we'll say greater than or equal to. There that is. Sorry about that. Save that. Execute how old are you? 15. You can drive next year. Execute again. 16. You can drive. And then we'll say 2. You can't drive, thankfully. Alright, so there's an if statement. Now let's go and check a couple other things out here. I'm going to go capital V and then D for delete, and back into insert mode with I. And here I'm going to say enter a number. So I'm going to go back into I. I'm going to show you another different way that we can use conditions here. This is going to be stored in num. And then I'm going to say if, and here, if I put these parentheses inside of here, I can now say num is equal to 10 if you don't want to use those other guys that you had available there for you. And by the way, the other options that were available to do comparisons in other ways, like we talked about previously, you could go equals with a dash in front of it, of course, not equal to, less than or equal to, less than, greater than or equal to, or greater than. So sorry I didn't cover that previously, but like I said, in the description there is a link to all this code, and you can of course jump back and test those out. So here what we're using is what is called the extended integer test. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if num is equal to 10, then we're going to define what we're going to do. And here we'll say echo your number equals 10. This is just garbage output I'm just putting here. And of course you have to close that with phi like that. We could also then go in and go if num is greater than 10, then, and here we'll say echo it is greater than 10. And then we can come in, we could still use else and all that other stuff and elif and all that stuff. Echo it is less than 10. And you don't put any semicolons there, but we do use semicolons. As the tutorial continues, I'll show you when we use those. We could also compound these if we wanted to do any type of math inside of here. So let's say we wanted to check if num is even or not. Just go like this, and we'll go num modulus 2, and we can check if that is equal to 0 in that situation. Then we want to print out on our screen, echo it is even, and close off the if statement again and save that. Enter a number. We can say 10. Your number equals 10. It is less than 10. It is even. Okay? So you can see exactly how that works. And the reason why that came back as less than 10 is because I said greater than 10. If I would have put greater than or equal to, go into insert mode with I again, greater than or equal to, escape, save that, here, 10. And then you can see it comes out the same, and we could change this. We could say greater than or equal to 10, but either way, whatever. I'm just writing this code out of my head, and that is what we're getting. We're also going to be able to use logical operators inside of our shell scripts. So we can say something like if, and then I want to compound these. So let's say we want to check if num is greater than 0, and we could also use or we could also come in here and use not, just like that, just like other computer programming languages. But here we're going to say that both of these conditions need to be true, not one or the other. We're going to say num is less than 11, and then throw then on there like that. And here we'll say echo num is between 1 and 10. Enter a number, and what does it say? Num is between 1 and 10. Let's put 5 inside of there. It is less than 10 pops back, and 5 is between 1 and 10. So that's how we can use logical operators. Also, you're going to be able to use logical operators to execute different things. So let's say we wanted to go and create a file, and then if that worked and the file was created, we could then open it up inside of Vim. So this is kind of silly because you would normally just create the file by opening it in Vim, but I don't know. So basically what we're saying here is if we were able to create this file, then what we want to do is go and have this file opened up inside of Vim, and we can do that, of course. We could also come in here and use or in much the same way. So we could say if sample directory doesn't exist, then we want to make it. And to check if it exists or not, a command we could use here is -d sample directory, and then we could go or, that's that guy, and if it doesn't exist, we're going to go make directory sample dir and jump over here, execute, enter a number, doesn't really matter, and there you can see the sample file was created. And here we are going to escape out of this guy, and you're going to be able to go ls, and you're going to be able to see that the sample directory was created as well as the sample file was created. And of course, I'm sure that you probably know this, but if you want to delete a file, you just go rm or remove sample file, and if you want to delete a directory, you just go rm directory and sample directory, and that is how those files are deleted for us. We could also come in here and test some strings. So what we're going to do is go escape, gg, and dg, and there, that's gone. So let's go in here and create a couple strings. We'll go string 1, and let's just have it be nothing, and string 2, and let's give it a value of sad, string 3, and we'll give it a value of happy. If we want to test if a string has the value of null, and go and put in the string that we want to check, and then we'll go then, and if this comes back as true, then we know that string 1 is not null, and we can close that off. We can also check if a string has a value or not by going if, and then we would type in -z and the string that we want to check inside of here. So we'll go string 1, then echo string 1 has no value. We can also check for equality between our strings if, once again, and then what we want to check. So it's going to be string 1, and we're going to check if it is equal to string 2, or string 3 I mean. Then let's jump up here and change this to string 2, and we'll say equals, and throw in the value of whatever string 3 is. Do elif here just to show you that we can do not equals to as well, even though we could just go else and leave it the way that it was. And then we come in and close that if statement off. We're also going to be able to check if they are greater than or less than based off of checking, alphabetical order of our different strings. Once again, we're going to be doing the same sort of thing here. String 2 greater than string 3, then, and then once again we could check if they were not equal to each other as well, of course, or less than in this situation, in exactly the same way that we did previously. And then close off that. And then jump over here and execute these guys. And you can see string 1 has no value, but it wasn't null, and sad is not equal to happy, and sad is greater than happy, which just means that S comes after H. You're also going to be able to do a whole bunch of checks in regards to files. So let's come in and we'll do an if statement. Like, let's say you wanted to check if a file exists, you put -e. Well, let's come in here first off and refer to these files. So we'll say file 1 is going to be equal to, and we'll have it be called test file. Of course, you have to create these files inside of your directory, and this is just a junky and empty file. That's all these are. And we'll do the same thing for file 2. Now we can come in and say if, and we want to check if the file exists, and we can just refer to the file, and then we can go and perform some checks with it. So we can say then echo, and we can say file 1 exists. And we can execute this, and it says test file 1 exists. Okay? Now there are a ton of other different things that we could then check for. So let's come in here and I'll just show you them and you can look at them on your own. And here you can see all the other different things you can check in regards to files. So we checked if it exists. We can then check to see if it is a normal file just by putting the -f inside of there. With -r, we can check if it's readable. We can check if it's writable with W. X is going to be, is it executable? D is going to be, is it a directory? Capital L, is it a symbolic link? P, is it a pipe? S, is it a network socket? G, like that, is it owned by the group? Capital O, is it owned by the user? And so forth and so on. So those are all the different things you can check in regards to files inside of shell scripting. And now I'm going to show you how you can use regular expressions as well. So if you want to check regular expressions, you're going to have to use what is called the extended test. So let's come in and let's read some information from the user. So let's say we wanted to do something, create a script that's going to allow us to validate, oops, what did I do here? Validate a date. Store whatever they type in inside of date, and then we can create a pattern. I'm not going to get that much into regular expressions. I already did a tutorial on that. You can look on my YouTube channel if you'd like to check that out. So let's say we wanted to make sure that they enter in a group of numbers between 0 and 9 and that they provide at least 8 of them, and we're going to say that that verifies it is a date. And we put the question mark here for saying that's the end of the pattern we're looking for, and the caret says this is the beginning of the pattern we're looking for. We can then come in and go if and put these brackets inside of here and then check date equal to tilde and compare it to our pattern. And then if it is true, we can say that it is valid. Not a great check for this, but whatever. And then we could say else and say that it is not valid and execute it. And as long as we go and we put in 8 digits, it's going to say that it is valid. And if we go and put in anything less than that, it's going to say that it's not valid. Okay, so you can play around with other different regular expressions and see exactly how those work. We could also read multiple values inside of our shell scripts. I'm not sure if I did that yet or if I covered that yet. Again, capital V and D for delete. And here what we're going to say instead is enter 2 numbers that we want to sum. And if we want to allow them to enter in multiple different numbers, we can just go num1 and num2 without putting any commas inside of there. And then we can, of course, come in and sum these values, num1 plus num2. And then we could echo out on the screen this information. And there we go. Enter 2 numbers to sum, and we could say 23. Whoop, didn't put anything in there, so it just came back as 23. And of course, we'll go 23 space 45, and there you can see it's able to go and accept multiple different pieces of output just like that. Another thing we're able to do here, and I'm just reviewing some of the different ways that we can output information or read information. I mean, let's say that we wanted them to be able to enter information, however, we don't want it to be displayed on the screen whenever they enter it. We would just go read and SP, the P is for prompt once again, and we'll say, and the S is for secret, and we'll say enter the secret code, and we're going to store that inside of variable secret. And then we could say if secret is equal to password, then we could go echo enter, else wrong password. And to enter 2 numbers to sum, whatever, we can just do this and that, whatever. Enter the secret code, and you can see here that if I type in the secret code that it doesn't show, but I did indeed enter password, and you can see there that enter printed on the screen. Another thing's kind of neat is, let's say that it seems weird to you that the user would go in there and put a space in between the values that they're entering. Let's say that you instead thought they should put a comma or something else. It doesn't really matter what it is. Go in here, V, select all those different things, delete, get rid of that. What we can do is we can store what we want to define as the separation for the attributes that are passed inside of our shell script. But what we want to do here, and how we do that, is we go and change what is called the IFS. Now, what we're going to do here is we want to input, or first save, the original version of IFS, because that could be useful as our script continues. So we'll go IFS, and that's how we get the original value. And then we can set what is going to separate the input values. So we'll just go IFS, and let's say that we want a comma to separate those. That would work perfectly fine. And then we could go read -p, and then we can say something like enter two numbers to add separated by a comma. And then we'll go num1 and num2. We could then use parameter expansion to substitute any white space that was entered when they put these attributes inside here. So it's going to accept commas, but it's also going to accept any white space that would come around these different values. And how you do that is you go num1 is equal to, we'll get more into parameter expansion here in a second, like literally right after I cover this, so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm going to say num1, and let's say that I want to replace all the blanks or the white space inside of there. I can do that, and I want to replace them with nothing. So I'm going to put nothing at the end of that, and that's going to work perfectly fine for me. Copy that, and then capital P to paste that in there, and we'll go and change this to 2, and change this to 2. And now we can come in and sum those values, just like we did previously. So sum number 1, number 2, and then echo out on our screen. And then of course we want to change the IFS back to the way that it was so it doesn't mess up anything else in our script. And how you do is just go like this, old IFS, you can put anything inside of there of course. And then we can execute, enter any two numbers, and we can say 23 and comma, and we can put a whole bunch of spaces and then 45, and you can see that it's able to perform that information there. If you didn't have this guy right here replacing those spaces, there would be a whole bunch of spaces between or before the plus sign right here. So that's the reason why we did that. So what exactly do we mean by parameter expansion, and what exactly does it do? Let's go and I'll show you a whole bunch of examples so you can see exactly what it does. So let's say I wanted to do something like create a variable. Oops, let's get rid of that. So let's say we wanted to come in here and I wanted to print a value, but I wanted to immediately thereafter put some characters after it. So I wanted to do something like Derek's toy. So here, I'll show you. So Derek, I think I'd be able to type my name by this point. So I'm going to create a variable called Derek, and I want to output Derek's toy with a S at the end of it. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to put, this is what's called a parameter expansion, and I'm going to go name like that, and then I want to put in an S at the end of this so that we can do it like that. See, if I put name and then I put the S after that without the parameter expansion, this is the parameter expansion, this guy, and this guy. If I put it in there, it would cause an error and it wouldn't know what I was looking for, and it definitely wouldn't put the name variable inside of there. So that's what that does. Also, we could come in and we'll go sample string to explain what I did whenever I replaced all of the blank spaces with nothing. Here I'll do sample string. If I then wanted to output different information, let's say I wanted to change that string to cat, I would use a parameter expansion again, and I would go sample string, and I would say I want to replace dog with cat inside of the string, and that's going to allow me to do that. And there you go, enter two numbers, whatever. And there you can see Derek's toy shows up, and you can also see that I replaced dog with cat. Another couple things you can do with parameter expansion is, let's say that you want to print out a value for a variable, but if a value doesn't exist, you want to print out a default value. Well, you can do that. It's a little bit of a weird type of thing, but I'm trying to cover as many things as I can here. So let's say I want to print the name. However, if it doesn't exist, I want to print Derek instead. And also what this is doing right here, well, if I put just a line like that, it's just going to print out Derek if a value for name doesn't already exist. If, however, a value for name does exist, it's going to change the value to it with the equal sign. So you can play around with that, see how that works out for you. And now I'm going to jump and show you exactly how we can use case inside of shell scripts. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask the user how old are they, and then I'm going to use case to perform execute different code depending upon the value of age. So I'm going to go case age in, and then I'm going to check some different things. So I'm going to say if the value of age is between 0 and 4, this is really cool. I wish case worked like this for other languages. Then I want to echo too young for school. And then I'm going to put 2 semicolons to end searching through all the other conditions. I could also match only 5. And in the situation in which age is equal to 5, I could say go to kindergarten. And again, go like that, and it's not going to check any of the other different values. I could go and check for 6 through 18 just by going like this, 6 through 9, and then close that off, and then put a pipe inside of there, and then put 1, and then put 0 through 8. So this is going to check the ages 6 through 9. This is going to check the ages 10 through 18. That's what's going on there. And then I can come in here, of course, and perform some arithmetic. Like, let's say I want to figure out what the grade is. I can do that just by going age minus 5. And then here I'll go echo, go to grade, and whatever the value of grade is. And then come in here, semicolons to close that off like that. And then finally we could do a default action, and that's just going to be a star inside of there like that. Let's go to the next line, star. And here we'll say something like echo, you are too old for school. And close that off, and then you're going to type in ESAC to end the case. And before we execute that, might as well show you the last conditional, which is the ternary operator. And the ternary operator is going to perform different actions based on conditions. So let's say we have something like can vote, give it a value of 0 like false, and then we'll have 18 like this. What we're going to do here is we're going to say if age is greater than or equal to 18, and then we're going to put a question mark inside of there. Then we're going to say you can perform any type of arithmetic or anything you want inside of here, but here I'm just going to do an assignment. Here we're going to say that can vote is now going to have a value of 1 colon, and that's going to be if this condition was true. Otherwise, it's going to be false. And in that situation, we're going to say can vote, and that is going to get the value of 0. And then we'll close off all those brackets. And then here at the end, we can say echo can vote, and then see if they can vote or not. Run it. How old are you? We'll say 18. Go to grade 13, and can vote comes back as 1. Alright, so there you go, guys. There's a whole bunch of different ways we can work with conditionals. Now I'm going to take another look at parameter expansions and strings. Okay, now I'm going to show you what we can do with parameter expansions in regards to strings. So let's say we have random string, and it's just going to be a random string. And let's say we wanted to get the string length, which could be useful for numerous different reasons. So string length. And you would just go $sign and a curly bracket and a hash, and then put in whatever your string name is, and then close it off with a curly bracket. You could also get a string slice, and remember we're using 0 indexes here, and we're going to be going in and asking for a specific index whenever we do this. And here we just go curly bracket again and random string, and let's say that we want to get whatever is at the second index. That's how that's done. We could also come in and define a starting index as well as an ending index and get a slice that way. So random string, and let's say we want to go 227, and then we could also come in here and get everything that follows after. In this situation, I'm going to say the letter A and then a space. And to do that, we just go $sign again and random string, and then we're going to put a hash symbol, and then I'm going to put a star and an A and a space and a curly bracket. And we come in here and we save that and jump over here and run it. You can get the string length is 15. You can see here random string pops back because we got everything that follows from the second index on. Here we go from the second index to the 7th. And here once again we get everything that follows after A and a space. So there's just a couple little neat things we can do with parameter expansions and strings. Now let's take a look at looping. Now we'll start off with a while loop, and anytime you use a while loop, you're going to have to define what you're going to be iterating or incrementing or decrementing, whatever. What's going to be changing that is eventually going to throw us out of our loop. And we just type in while, and then we type in num, and here I'm going to say less than or equal to 10 is how long we're going to loop through this. Put do here, and then I'm going to define inside of here what exactly is going to happen. In this situation, I'm just going to print out the num, and then of course you're going to have a value that is going to increment, and that's going to be num, and we're going to have to increment num, and there we are. And then to end the while loop, we just put done at the end. And let's go and do another while loop here again. This time I'm going to demonstrate how continue and break works. So we can just leave let's just use the num1 again. So let's come in here and go num is going to be equal to 1, and we'll throw in another while loop. And once again, we're going to be incrementing num, and we're going to be incrementing as long as it is less than or equal to 20, and then put do inside of here. And let's say that we don't want to print even numbers. How would we do that? Well, if you remember what we did previously with the if statement, we went and took the modulus of our value, and then we compared it to 0 and close that off. And then we're going to say then in this situation we are going to increment the value of a number, and then we're going to continue. And what that's going to do is this line is going to take care of the incrementing, and it continues going to jump back up here, and it's not going to cover anything else that was done anywhere after this if statement. Now let's say that that condition doesn't come back as true. Let's say that we want to jump completely out of our looping structure altogether, and let's say that we want to jump out if num is greater than or equal to 15 at any point in time. Then, and to do that, we would type in break, and then we can close off our if statement, and then we can come down here otherwise and just print out the value of num. And then of course we're going to have to also come in here and increment once again the value of num, because it's not going to be incremented otherwise. And then finally close off our while loop. Whoops, hit my control S there instead of coming and hitting escape and W. And we can come over here and execute those, and you can see how those all worked out there. Up here we went and printed 0 through 10, and right here we only printed the odd numbers, and whenever we got to 15 we didn't print it out, we instead jumped out of the loop. So there's a couple different ways we can use while loops. Now let's come in here and take a look at until, which is basically the opposite of while loop. Basically with a while loop we're saying we're going to continue doing something as long as a condition is true, and with a until we're going to continue doing something until a condition is true. So it's just slightly different. And to use until, let's just use num again, and we're going to say greater than 10. So we're going to loop until the value of num is greater than 10. And here we can then come in and once again echo out the changing value. We are once again going to have to increment our value here, right like this. And then you close an until loop in exactly the same way. And you can go and execute that on your own. I think you get exactly how that's going to work. You can also come in here and output file information. And let's go in here and whoops, let's escape out of that. And let's go and do ls to show everything we got here. Let's say that we wanted to read and loop through and output information that is in a file. Well, the file that I'm going to use in this situation is going to be my Barry Bonds stats, and he's a baseball player if you didn't know. And it's going to have his batting average, his RBIs, and his total number of home runs inside here. So what I want to do is I want to go and I want to loop through all that Barry Bonds data. So we're going to come in, once again, we're going to jump into this, just using hello world again. And I'm going to say that I want to use a while loop here, and I want to read information, and the information is going to be average, RBIs, home runs, and then I'm going to say do. Now in this situation, I'm going to show you another way that we can output information. I'm going to use printf in this situation, and I can say average, let's just make that lowercase, and I can go and get my average by going average like that, and then I can throw a new line in there. The printf allows me to use new lines inside of here. I can then go RBIs and grab the RBIs out of that. Once again, we're going to throw a new line in there, and we can also go in and do home runs, and you could do multiple different lines of data also to grab out of there if you'd like. And for home runs, of course, we're going to type in HRS and close that off, and then throw in another new line and do close off the printf statement. And now at the end here, what I just need to do is pipe data into the while loop, and the data being the text file that I showed you just a second ago. So Barry Bonds and text right like that, and we could save that and execute it, and you can see that it went and sucked all that information directly out of that file and then put all this other information there. So there's a way that we can go in here and actually work with the files and grab information if we'd like. Delete that out of there. And of course there's also going to be a for loop, and for loops come in a couple different ways inside of shell scripting. So this is the C style way of working with for loop. So here what we're going to do is we're going to continue cycling through this as long as I is less than or equal to 10, and we're going to also come in here and increment the value of I each time it jumps through our loop. Close that off. Again, we're going to type in do, and I'll just keep this nice and simple once again and output the information there, and you close the for loop like that. And we can also come in and cycle through ranges with for loops, and you're going to see another way whenever I cover arrays here in a second exactly how we can cycle through an array. And we can throw that right there, and do, and echo, and $I, and that's going to be closed off in exactly the same way. And we can jump in and execute it, and you can see right here that it went and cycled through all that information, and you can also see that it went and printed out the values of 0 through 10. So pretty cool stuff. And let's get rid of that. And now I just mentioned arrays, so why don't we just talk about arrays? Now, the one thing with bash arrays is that you're only ever going to be able to have one-dimensional arrays inside of bashes, and of course the indexes are going to start at 0 unless you define you want them to start at something else. So I can come in here and create an array, just call it favorite numbers. Very easy, and we can go 3.14. Again, you do not put commas inside of here. 278 and 57721, and what other number do we have here? Bonus points if you know why these numbers are my favorites. And we can come in here and echo out. That is how to create an array, of course, if I didn't say that. We can come in and echo out a value inside of here quite easily. $, and just go favorite nums, and then let's say we want the 0 index, of course, that's what pi is. Whoops, just gave away part of the little question I had there. And we could also add a value to an array in a similar type of way. So let's go the 4th index, and let's say that we wanted to add another value inside of there, and we could echo out a value in much the same way. So let's just say gr favorite nums. In here we'll echo out our 4th index. Close that curly bracket. We can also add a group of values to our array, so favorite numbers, and you just go plus equal to, and 1 and 7 inside of there. And then of course we can output all of our array values using for loops, which I told you, I promised you I was going to cover, and here I am covering it. So favorite numbers, and to do that you just put a bracket like that, and a star, and a closing bracket like that, curly bracket like this, and a do, and an echo, and just grab this value, and then done. And we can come in and save that, and if we run it you can see exactly how all that information was able to print out. Here I grab the index, here I grab another index, and here I printed out all of the information stored in the array using the for loop. Let's continue doing some more stuff here. You're also going to be able to output indexes using much the same style as this for loop. So why don't I just come in here and grab this guy. Once again, capital V, Y, jump down here, capital P, and all I need to do in this situation is come down here, insert, and I'm going to throw an @ sign in there. That's going to print out all of my indexes. I'm also going to be able to get the length of the array, or the number of items that are stored inside of the array. And there we go. And then just throw the @ sign inside of there, and that's going to work for us. We can also get the length of an array element, like an individual element. So we'll say index 3 length, and to do that, once again, curly bracket, favorite nums, and let's say we want to get the length of the individual element there, and we can do that. We're also going to be able to come in here and sort our array. So we'll say sorted nums, and how we would do that is go $, and then we could go for I in, and then $, favorite nums, and then an @ sign inside of there, a curly bracket closing, like this. And then, whoops, don't forget to put semicolon inside of there. And then we'll go do, and we can go echo and $I. And you can, I don't know if I mentioned this before, you can put semicolons in here, but not necessarily do you need to do that. And then finally what you're going to do here at the end is just go done and put that right there. And then you're going to put in sort at the end, and then we're going to close off those brackets. And that is how easy it is to sort an array. And what the heck, let's go and print the array once again. So escape out of this, V and Y, and let's jump down here, do a capital P inside of there, and we want to get our sorted nums. So sorted nums, and here what we're going to do is change this to a star, and this will be do, and that'll be echo, and this will be done, and all that works. And finally, if you want to delete an array element, you go unset, and let's say I wanted to delete sorted nums, and I want to delete the second index. That's how that would work, or whatever's in index 1. And of course, if you want to delete the whole array, you just go unset, and you want to do sorted nums, and that's exactly how that works. And we come over here and decay and run it, and there you can see we were able to come in and get our array length. Whoop! And you can see here I made a little bit of bug. Now let's come in here. If you want to get the length of our array, you have to come in here and put a $sign in there, right, like that. So a hash symbol inside of there like this. And then you can come out here and put another hash symbol. So that's how you get the two lengths. Sorry about that little error. Long tutorials sometimes make me make errors. And there you can go. Array length, and this tells you how many items in the array. This tells you how many the length of the individual item. Here we went and printed out all of the different items in a sorted manner. So there you are. That is a whole bunch of different ways to loop. Now let's take a look at positional parameters and how we're able to accept values from the command line. Okay, so positional parameters are variables that can store data on the command line in variable names 0 through 9. However, the variable 0 is always going to contain the path to the executed script. So for the most part, you're going to be working with 1 through 9. Now you're also going to be able to access names past 9, but you're going to have to use a parameter expansion like this guy, right, like this, if you want to go and get 10. All that stuff probably didn't make any sense, so what I'm going to do here is actually just do it, and once I show you an example, it'll all make 100% sense. So let's go echo, and we will go first argument, and let's go and get the first argument, right like this. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to come in here and sum all the values that are entered in off of the command line. So what I'm going to do here is go while, and we're going to go $sign and hash, and that's going to tell you the number of arguments, the $sign and the hash, and greater than 0. So it's going to cycle through, whoops, make sure I don't put a space there, greater than 0, and do. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the first argument that is passed in from the command line. Just show you, whenever I run it, it'll all make 100% sense. And I'm going to go sum, and I'm going to increment sum by whatever the first number is that they passed inside of there. And then I'm going to call shift. And shift is going to move the value that is in the second argument that they passed through the command line into the 1 position. And then continue adding all those together. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to execute this, and it's all going to make complete sense. So we'll go hello world, and we'll say something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there you can see first argument is equal to 1. And why not end the tutorial with a mistake? Because it would also make a lot of sense if I want to come in here and also show you the sum of those values. And how I would do that is just come in here like this and go sum and escape and a W, and let's come in and run it again. And there you can see first it got the first argument, which is this guy right here, and then it summed all the other different arguments that were passed from the command line. So there you go, guys. That is a rundown of the basic syntax used in writing shell scripts using Bash. Hope you guys found that useful, and just like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.